Hey, Ryan O'Hev here. I'm really excited to be shooting this video about how to practice self-love while in a relationship. And this is really key because a lot of the personal development world and spiritual growth world provides a lot of great tools to build your core stability, build your center in yourself when you're alone and when you can really ground in. And then there's that pesky little thing that happens when you're in relation with another, whether that's an intimate partnership, friendship, business collaboration, or team member relationship, whatever it is. Suddenly there's triggers. Suddenly the nervous system gets activated. Suddenly there's a flood of energy and emotion. And then in those moments, how do you stay true to yourself? How do you stay centered in yourself while still remaining open to another? Therefore, loving yourself while in relationship. And we're going to look at this from a lot of different angles. But the first angle is realizing that when you are in a relationship with another, there is a third aura that gets created between the two auras, the two energetic fields of you and the other person. This transpersonal aura actually is a third entity. You will feel different when you're around someone else, and so will they. There'll be this combination of who you two become when you're together. So there's this balance of surrendering into that, this beauty of surrendering into the relationship, surrendering of who you get to be and experience yourself as when you're with another, and while still maintaining the core values and principles and practices that are important to you and who you are, and how to not lose yourself in that relationship, how to create an interdependence where you are still you and also being surrendered into this interdependence with another. So the first step is boundaries and creating enough space, and only you know how much space you need to stay centered. And for me, growing up with abandonment wounds and anxious attached wounds, it's important for me to recenter myself in between experiences when I'm getting to know someone. And sometimes that can take a few days, maybe even a week, to really come back to myself, because there is a little bit of a disorientation with another, and that's the practice. It's a practice. There's no rules here. It's a practice of what's the level I can connect and feel enjoying into the surrender of the relationship while still staying centered, while still knowing I'm okay and I'm safe as an individual, and I still love myself exactly as I am, and um, finding that really beautiful place. And at first it can require some space to not get into situations where you're compromising yourself too much and then kind of beating yourself up and getting frustrated, or if you have triggers like fears of abandonment, fears of not being accepted, or fears that many people have, then creating this space is essential so that you can really build a strong foundation for the relationship where you can feel that self-love and that self-centeredness and that orientation around yourself while in relationships. So it's about communicating those boundaries compassionately and kindly, because the other individual, your intimate partner or friend or business collaborator or fellow team member, may be triggered by your boundaries. They may not completely understand, and it may trigger their abandonment wounds or whatever they have going on. So it's about realizing that it's about two steps: setting the boundary that you may need this much time in between visits to kind of come back to yourself, because where you get lost in another, where you kind of get caught up in the excitement, which is beautiful, but when you start losing your own practices, values, ways you move through the world as a result of that, that's when the self-deprecating thoughts that can come in, and then that can turn into a challenge in the relationship. So setting those boundaries, but then also being really compassionate with the other about their response to the boundaries, and balancing those two worlds. After that, it's about really practicing and building that capacity to be the center point of your reality, to and orient around yourself and have the relationship orient around your truth. And this is really important. This is about connecting to your truth, not losing your truth in a relationship, to be aware of your individual truth, and then also the interrelational, the transpersonal truth that is being created between you and the other person. And knowing where your compromise feels like a loving surrender into the transpersonal truth, and where it feels like too much of a compromise, or it's actually compromising your individual truth too much, where it doesn't feel good. Because that's where, again, when you sacrifice too much for this relationship, for whatever reason, because you think you need to make it work, there's going to end up being some resentment. So, and it's about deep communication. It's about being willing to communicate and hear the other and hear the impact your needs are having on them, and the impact, and realizing the impact their needs are having on you, and being willing to have a really, really loving conversation about that. Because this idea of self-love in relationship is the real work. Yes, you can meditate by yourself for hours and really achieve that place of peace and come to that place of peace. It's in those moments of trigger when not only can you stay self-loving, but you can stay loving to the other. Because when you're with that other person, you too are forming a new self. So part of the self-love is in relationship is not only loving just you, the being that you are, but also loving the greater self, the two of you, and the impact that each of your needs has on each other. And you may find that those needs aren't compatible at the end of the day, and that's okay, and to be loving with each other through that. But it's really about finding that balance point and practicing. There's no formula here per se, it's just practice and really making sure that you're putting a priority on feeling centered when you connect with the other person, coming from a place of being filled up by yourself, doing your practices, what you love to do, not merging too quickly into the other person's life, and therefore losing that sense of core stability. Really, really maintaining that. So the core stability that emerges in your relationship as a unit comes from a solid foundation of you and the other choosing their core stability in the beginning, and then working out the kinks, working out and exploring where is each person okay to compromise, where is the limits on the compromise, and then discovering if there's a way to work with each other. Because from there, from having those challenging, loving conversations, from working through the uncomfortable emotions that you may have around owning your boundaries and declaring space when you need it, and the discomfort and fear that comes up in you around that, by working through that with the other and with yourself, you're building such a strong foundation for the truth of your relationship to emerge, the truth of the transpersonal aura of the self that is you and the other person combined. So really, really, really important foundation there. And that's really the two key concepts, you know. If you build that energetic foundation, everything else flows from that. And self-love, practicing self-love, is that. Everything we just talked about, that's really it. Yes, it could look like meditation. Yes, it could look, but that's more your individual journey. In relationship, this is what self-love looks like. This delicate dance with the other and balancing your needs and theirs and the needs of the unit and finding out those points. So I invite you to not just watch this video and shut it off, but to pause and journal on some of these questions. Like, what are your needs? What are their needs as far as you know? Or maybe ask them. And what are the needs of the unit? And what are you willing to compromise? What are you willing not to? And what impact are your needs and boundaries having on the other? And how can you have more compassion for them? These kinds of questions can create a lot of openness for communication and just awareness within yourself. And if you're struggling to connect to your truth or stay grounded into your truth, I highly recommend utilizing the human design system. And the human design system is the first system that I start all my clients with. And I found it 8 years ago, and it is incredible. And you can get a free human design guide from my website at orionahep.com/HD guide. All you have to do is enter in a little bit of information, and you're going to get a 19-page personalized guide. And if you're interested in getting a free human design reading, we're actually giving away a free reading. I was doing it at 100 subscribers, but we're actually going to give one away at 50 subscribers. So we're about 24 away now. So all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and comment on this video. The more comments you add to a video between now and 50 subscribers, the more chances you have to win the reading. And this is a 2-hour one-on-one reading with me, a $397 value. So please subscribe, comment below if you love videos on human design, videos on self-love, videos on self-empowerment. And we do videos every week. So I hope to see you in the comments. I answer every one, and I hope you're having a beautiful day.